What kind of person refuses to give up, even when the entire world expects them to fail? What kind of mind keeps moving forward after years of rejection, loneliness, and humiliation? This question sits at the heart of one of the most powerful psychological journeys in Naruto Shippuden, the life of Naruto Uzumaki. Because Naruto's story is not simply about becoming stronger or achieving a dream. It is about resilience, the kind of resilience that forms when someone grows up with nothing but pain, yet refuses to let that pain define their future. From the moment Naruto was born, his life was already shaped by forces he didn't understand. Inside his body was sealed the most feared creature in the shinobi world, the nine-tailed fox, known as Grandma. Years before Naruto could even speak his first words, the beast had attacked the Hidden Leaf village, causing destruction and death. To stop the creature, Naruto's father, Minato no Mikaze, sacrificed his life and sealed the nine tails inside his newborn son. But Naruto grew up without knowing any of this. All he experienced was the consequence. The villagers looked at him with fear. Adults avoided him. Other children were told not to play with him. No one explained why. Imagine being a child surrounded by people who treat you like a problem simply for existing. Imagine trying to understand why everyone seems to dislike you before they even know you. That kind of isolation can easily break a person's spirit. For many children, constant rejection creates insecurity, anger, or withdrawal. But Naruto developed a different coping mechanism. If people ignored him, he would make them notice him. If people rejected him, he would force them to acknowledge his existence. This is why Naruto became the loud, energetic troublemaker everyone recognized. Pulling pranks across the village, painting graffiti on important monuments, causing chaos wherever he went. On the surface, it looked like childish misbehavior, but psychologically, it was something deeper. Naruto wasn't trying to cause problems. He was trying to be seen. When someone grows up without emotional recognition, attention becomes a substitute for a connection. Even negative attention can feel better than being invisible. Beneath the jokes, the pranks, and the loud personality was a lonely child searching for acknowledgement. Naruto wanted someone, anyone, to recognize him, a person rather than a burden. This is where the concept of his dream begins to make sense. Naruto didn't simply want to become Hokage because it was a prestigious position. He wanted to become Hokage because the Hokage is the person everyone respects and acknowledges. In Naruto's mind, becoming Hokage meant finally being accepted by the village that rejected him for so long. His dream was not built on ambition, it was built on emotional survival. And that dream became the psychological anchor that kept him moving forward through every obstacle. When Naruto finally entered the Ninja Academy, he faced another challenge. He struggled academically and often ranked near the bottom of his class. Compared to naturally gifted students like Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto seemed clumsy and unskilled. But something about Naruto's mindset was different from most people. Instead of interpreting failure as proof that he was worthless, Naruto interpreted failure as motivation. Every time he struggled, his determination grew stronger. This mindset is what psychologists often describe as resilience through purpose. When someone believes their goal is meaningful enough, they become capable of enduring extraordinary levels of difficulty. Naruto's purpose was simple but powerful. Prove that he deserved to exist in the village that rejected him. This purpose eventually attracted the attention of a mentor who would change his life, Iruka Mino. Unlike the other adults in the village, Iruka didn't see Naruto as the nine-tailed fox. He saw a lonely child who needed guidance and support. When Iruka defended Naruto and acknowledged his effort, it became one of the first moments in Naruto's life where he felt genuinely understood. That moment may seem small, but psychologically it was transformative. Sometimes a single person believing in you can change the trajectory of your entire life. For Naruto, Iruka's recognition confirms something he had been hoping for all along. He wasn't destined to remain an outcast forever. Someone finally saw him for who he truly was. As Naruto Uzumaki continued his journey in the world of Naruto Shippuden, one psychological pattern became increasingly clear. Every major challenge in Naruto's life forced him to make a choice: allow pain to turn into hatred, or transform it into empathy. Most people who grow up in isolation develop resentment toward the world that rejected them. Anger becomes a natural response to years of neglect and misunderstanding. And in the shinobi world, where power often grows from emotional intensity, that anger can easily evolve into something destructive. But Naruto followed a different path. Instead of rejecting the world that rejected him, he kept trying to connect with it. This might sound simple, but psychologically it requires extraordinary emotional strength. Because reaching out to others after repeated rejection means risking disappointment again and again. Yet Naruto continued to believe that people could change. This belief became one of his most powerful traits. While other shinobi focused purely on combat strength, Naruto developed something equally important: emotional intelligence. He had experienced loneliness so deeply that he could recognize it in others. When he looked at characters like Gaara, he didn't just see an enemy. He saw someone who had experienced the same isolation he once felt. Gaara, like Naruto, grew up as a Jinchuriki, a human vessel for a powerful tail beast. But unlike Naruto, Gaara responded to that pain with hatred. The people of his village feared him, manipulated him, and treated him like a weapon rather than a human being. Over time, Gaara concluded that the only way to survive was to become more terrifying than the people who rejected him. When Naruto confronted Gaara, their battle was not just physical, it was philosophical. Both of them had experienced the same suffering, but they had reached completely different conclusions about how to respond to it. Gaara believed pain justified cruelty. Naruto believed pain created understanding. And in that confrontation, Naruto revealed something powerful about resilience. The ability to endure suffering without allowing it to destroy your compassion is one of the rarest strengths a person can develop. Naruto's influence eventually helped Gaara transform his own worldview, showing that even the deepest emotional wounds can heal when someone finally feels understood. This pattern repeated itself again and again throughout Naruto's journey. When he encountered enemies driven by hatred, Naruto rarely responded with pure hostility. Instead, he tried to understand the experiences that shaped them. This approach became especially important when he faced one of the most devastating enemies in the series, pain. Pain believed that the only way to achieve peace was through shared suffering. His philosophy was built on the idea that humanity would never understand the consequences of war unless it experienced overwhelming pain. Naruto listened to this argument carefully. Instead of immediately rejecting pain's perspective, he acknowledged that the shinobi world truly was trapped in a cycle of hatred. But Naruto refused to accept the idea that suffering was the only solution. Because if pain only creates more pain, then the cycle never truly ends. Naruto's answer to this problem became the core philosophy of his character: the courage to believe in change even when history suggests otherwise. This mindset is what ultimately defines the psychology of never giving up. It is not blind optimism. It is a deliberate choice to keep believing in possibilities despite overwhelming evidence of failure. Naruto understood that peace would not appear instantly. It would require patience, forgiveness, and the willingness to break cycles that had existed for generations. His resilience inspired people across the shinobi world because it showed them something they had almost forgotten. Hatred is not the only possible response to suffering. In the end, Naruto's strength was never just about powerful techniques or overwhelming chakra. His greatest strength was psychological, the ability to transform loneliness into empathy, the ability to transform rejection into motivation, and most importantly, the ability to continue believing in people, even when the world repeatedly proves how flawed they can be. That belief, the refusal to give up on others or on himself, is what allowed Naruto Uzumaki to achieve the dream that once seemed impossible. Not simply becoming Hokage, but becoming the person who helped an entire world believe in the possibility of peace again.